What is going on, guys? I've automated now roughly about 85% of my sales and marketing efforts at my six-figure dollar company, Triggerfy. Now, you're probably wondering how, why, and is that actually legit or am I just lying? The truth is I'm not, and I'm going to show you exactly how this setup runs, operates, and looks. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I set up my Hermes, I'm not really sure, OpenClaw, Codex, and Claude Code plan, and how they all work simultaneously together. So let's dive in. So to start with, I started my journey using OpenClaw, as I'm sure a lot of you have kind of been tinkering around with. I actually lie, I started with Claude Code, then we went on to Codex, and then we went on to OpenClaw. Now my stack basically looks like I use Hermes to control all of the subsequent tools, aka Codex, Claude Code, and even OpenClaw. Now, the reason why is Hermes has actually just been performing for me incredibly well since I switched over about 4 weeks ago from OpenClaw. It's a lot less setup. It's a lot less headache. It breaks pretty much never. And it performs incredibly well, specifically actually performs incredibly well with the 5.4 Codex model. Given Anthropic blocked everyone using your max plan and using Opus 4.6, OpenClaw actually got a lot worse when that happened as well, and you just don't get the same or quite the same level of output. Now, you don't actually have to run OpenClaw. The only reason that I do that in tandem with Hermes is OpenClaw, given the name, is actually incredibly good at tool calling. So if the job or the task that you're doing involves quite a lot of heavy lifting in terms of calling a lot of different tools, then you might think about combining the stack together. So it's actually very simple to get started. All we need to do is basically go ahead and come to this website, which is the Hermes agent. So just go to Google and type in that. But it's ran by a company called Naos Research. And what's really interesting about these guys is the actual security of the Hermes agent is actually substantially better than the OpenClaw. There's a lot of work around prompt injection protection, a lot of protection around the skills that it basically compiles. And the other really interesting thing is the memory system that's actually inbuilt into this agent. It uses the Carpathy Obsidian kind of strategy here, which I think OpenClaw has recently also now implemented, but it gets so incredibly good the more that you use this agent. And so this has become my number one tool to use versus even just chatting to things inside of like the Claude desktop app if I'm wanting to do little things here, because I know that it has a massive benefit the more I talk to it. So all you got to do is head to your terminal, copy and paste this, and hit install. Now, this will then just make you follow a set list of things to get set up. So I'm going to actually go ahead to my one here, and we're going to show what this looks like. So let's say you've hit the download. You would then go through and hit this Hermes setup. It's going to go through either a quick setup or a full setup with you. So if we do the quick setup here, we can go ahead and add in all of the different API keys for different things that it might use. So where it could be interesting is adding things like the Firecrawl API, so that allows the agent to control a self-hosted browser instance, as well as gives it the capabilities to scrape incredibly well. You've obviously got browser base as well in there. And this new one, which I've started using a lot, which is this Cameo Fox as well, which is very good for kind of anti-bot detection browsing as well. So if we then move on from this one, you then can go ahead and, I hit it too many times. You then can go ahead and set up your Discord or your Slack bot. Now, to do this, let's just head back to the browser here that we're looking at. You would simply go to Discord developer, log into here, and you can see here's all of my different agents. And then you're going to click new application. You would name the bot, whatever you would want to call it. In this case, we'll just call it example. and set this up. Now, when you are setting up this one via the Discord bot within Hermes, you would need to basically go and get the bot token. Now, before you do this, I'm going to need you to do a few different things. First of all, you're going to have to come here. You're going to turn on message content intent and present intent here as well. And then you're going to go and add all of these different permissions that you want it to get access to. So basically the ability to send message, read message histories, and anything else that you would want it to do. Hit save changes, and there you go. You then would go ahead and hit the reset token, chuck in your password here, and then basically go ahead and copy and paste this token across into that terminal where you're setting up the Hermes agent. Once you've done that, you will also need to come across to the OAuth 2 installation section, click bot, and then same thing, go ahead and give it the permissions that you want it to give access to, and then copy this generated URL, and then you would simply go to a new browser, chuck that in, and then this is going to ask you, as you can see here, do you want to basically add that bot to the application, which in this case, I'm going to say no. So that's how you would go ahead and set up the bot with Hermes on Discord. It's really, really simple. It doesn't take much more from that. And all you've got to do as well is just follow the instructions that Hermes will take you through. It's a lot less convoluted than people think, and then is OpenClaw as well. So once you've got it set up, the next thing that I want you to do is load it up. So you would simply type in Hermes and hit enter. Now, you can enter in multiple different models. We can do a / here, and we can select the models that we would want to switch this agent to, depending on the tasks and work that we're doing. But inside of these agents, you have a thing called Crons, right? And Crons are basically just another word for an automation. So for example, can you share all of the different Crons that I have running? This is where you can get it to do things that are very, very interesting. And the way that you need to think about this is two things. Firstly, one, how can you work on the brain and make this thing improve over time? And then the second thing is, how can you then have it doing tasks and updating tasks as it goes? So I have 10 Crons currently running on Hermes. The first one is where it's using my tool, actually, Triggerfy, where it's analyzing social content across 8 different social medias. It's pulling all of that data in, and it's trend scouting, essentially, what is trending, what's good content to post about, and what's not good content to post about. It's generating me X posts off the back of the trends that it's finding. And it's also generating me Substack posts as well. Then what it's looking at doing is anytime it posts a post on social media, it's reviewing the performance as well. So basically, like, did that work? Did it not work? So on and so on. From here, we have like a release intelligence agent. So it's monitoring my GitHub or my company's GitHub. And anytime that we launch a new feature, it has a look at what we've done, and it actually helps to write social content for the team to post, updates our help docs, and it posts for the team, updates help docs, and one other thing, but I totally forgotten that it does within that section. It will come back to me. Then we have this brain digest. So every single day, it's basically reviewing what was discussed between me and the agent, and then categorizes those and then uploads them into our Obsidian vault. So if we look here, we can see this is my agent's brain inside of here. There's a lot going on. And for example, if I hit on the SDR market here, I should have just hovered over it there. Like, you can see what things are connected to. So you can see how it's drawing correlation between certain different elements, basically. So you've got the trend scouts, which is linked to AI SDR market. That's linked to platform distribution, outcome-based pricing, and it's creating links between everything, kind of acting like a human brain. Then we're watching Karpathy. He's the actual chap who invented the memory system that we're using. He also was the one who invented OpenAI as well, or helped in it. Engagement tracker, and then help center insight. So lots of different things going on. So now let's basically go over how can you install this memory system, which makes this thing world-class and just crushes basically anything that I've ever used in the past. So I'm going to say I'm live on a demo call. Can you provide me with a prompt to enable my listeners to set up the same memory system we are using? Let's say this prompt needs to follow or instruct another agent how to mirror our memory system here. Okay, cool. So that's going to go ahead and chuck that out. And what we'll do is you can just pause it, screenshot it, and then chuck that image in so the agent can just read the screenshot and update that memory system. Because this is one of the first things that I would do once you've followed the instructions and once you've logged in. Say, hey, I want to go ahead and set up this memory system. Can you follow these instructions and help me set this up? So here we go. It's chucking all this out. I'll tell you what, you probably won't be able to screenshot this. So I'm going to put this in a little document in the links below, which you will be able to use and copy and paste. But long and short of it is it's creating different vaults using a tool called Obsidian. Obsidian's a free tool. You don't need to pay for it, which is basically the one that we were looking at here. So I'll chuck this prompt in there for you. That would be step number one after actually doing the initial setup with Hermes. Now, when to get OpenClaw involved is a decision that you'll need to make. This is quite advanced to have two things together. I would spend a lot more time personally with Hermes. I would have it analyzing your call recordings if you're doing sales calls, analyzing your competitors, creating brand, like a brand folder on who you guys are, analyzing social content, analyzing emails, really just focusing on building out that knowledge repository inside of that brain would be my initial focus for the first few days. Then I would think about, okay, well, how can we go ahead and set up these kind of crons to do things that will, basically help me automate my daily life. All of these crons and the performance reviews and it self-updating and running experiments kind of comes after the back of the work of a lot of like knowledge updates and things like that, which I can share in another video. So then how do we go about setting up OpenClaw if we wanted to do that? Same thing here. We would just need to come to the OpenClaw site, click to download this, and then upload this into the terminal. Now, inside of the terminal, you'll just follow a set list of instructions, which is the same as what we just went through with the Hermes agent, where you'll pick where the Open API keys that you want to add, or the Claude keys, or whatever it is that you want to choose from. Now, a lot of the questions that I get is, do you want to run this in a cloud or in a VPS, or do you want to do this on a local machine? Now, I've opted to get a Mac Mini, which if we look here back at this, we can see that this screen actually is a network shared screen to my Mac Mini. So if you're using Apple Macs, you can basically open up the Finder here. You can click on the network tab, and then you can basically hit screen share, essentially, to screen share with the computer that is on the same internet as you when you're in like your home internet. And that's effectively what I'm doing here. So I can actually just control my Mac Mini easily through just this like screen share portal. Now, you don't have to, but I probably would advise it. It's a lot less headache than going down the VPS route. There's a lot of other advantages to it as well. Everything doesn't need to necessarily be ran in said cloud. But of course, you may not have the funds to go buy a Mac Mini, in which case you could use an old laptop as well, would work. It's totally up to you on where you would want to host this. My advice is on a Mac Mini. The next thing that I did was I gave these agents their own email address. So I'm really sandboxing this into their own environment. So these agents have their own emails that they work from. They'll have their own API keys, and they'll have their own environment essentially. So that, again, I'm just putting a lot of protection around any levels of kind of safety margins within here. So once you've gone ahead and set up OpenClaw, what you'll then need to do here is just type in something like OpenClaw MCP. And you come ahead to here. And basically, this allows you to turn your OpenClaw into an MCP, which means that other systems can speak with it. So to be lazy, which we all like to do, all you need to do is go ahead, copy and paste this, go back to your Hermes, which is here, and then say, I want to go ahead and have you connect with my OpenClaw. And then here's the docs on how we can do this. And then you copy the docs basically in, and it will follow the system ahead of setting that up basically. What then that allows you to do is we can do things like this once we've done that. So let's just fire up a new tab here. We could say, Tabella for me in OpenClaw to an update on how the other agents are currently doing. So on my OpenClaw, I have a few other agents essentially. I have a marketing specific agent, I have a product manager specific agent, and then I have Bella, who's more of like the, again, the kind of chief strategy officer or the chief AI strategy officer who helps kind of control those agents and is more of my all-rounder one. So she manages those, and then Hermes, who's, I call it Silco, basically manages Bella and those agents that sit basically underneath there as well. Now, alongside this, I also have set up Claude Code, and I've set up Codex, and I've used their official marketplace plugins to connect to my Discord server. So then I have inside of my Discord a place where all of the agents basically come to me, plus it gives me a place where I can actually speak to them. So inside of here, I have a dedicated access to the CLI for Codex and Claude Code, but I also have Hermes sitting in here and OpenClaw. Then I have different channels inside of here. Some personal, which is about like my Ironman training, but some others, which is more business orientated, right? So this one here called AI Chat Room, and this is basically where my agents actually speak and converse with each other. So every morning they have a 9 a.m. stand up. So that's effectively a cron that fires off at 9 a.m., which makes them review my business performance, review my social content performance, review my sales performance, analyze all of the data points, understand if we're missing anything, come up with some experiments that we can try, report back on prior experiments, and continue to test and try and push things. And that's effectively what's going on inside of here. So you can see here, the focus is moving on to our social listening CLI. So Triggerify just launched the CLI, and it's basically kind of talking around that. You can see here some blockers. So I've not approved something inside of here as well, which is bad. Yada, yada, yada. And then we also have other kind of elements inside of here as well, which is cool. So here you go. They've come back and they've said hello, essentially, all inside of here. Now, one of the things that I've been doing, which I think has helped me massively with all of this, is I actually have a repo that all of my agents work from. Now, the memory system that I have for Hermes is dedicated to Hermes. It's not set up for OpenClaw. They have their own memory system. So what I also do is I have a repo system because I think it's important not to solely rely on memory layers and things like that. I also want to be foldering and putting documents, things I'm creating away into a repo that I can then back up inside of GitHub, and then I could pass on to any other agent. So for example, when I first fired up Hermes for the first time, I was able to have it go through and read every single thing inside of here. The other cool thing is I was able to translate a lot of the skills that I basically created, which you can see I've got like 40 different skills that are inside of here, from copywriting to email sequencing, through to what does good social content look like, through to how to manage Triggerfy's workflows and things like that, through to blog writing. It's kind of endless. And I was able to convert those skills very simply into any agent because I have it stored here. So this really acts as like a backup place that I have, but also a shared place where they can all work from. So any work that the agents I have running, they will also put a lot of their output basically back into this system, and they'll use it as a place to store documents going forward. Because I can then build applications off the back of this, right? I can build front-end applications if I want to view the data in a different way. For example, we actually just started using another open source system called Paperclip. And Paperclip is a great place to actually manage all of this work that we're doing with the agents. And I've kind of created a different fork of Paperclip and are now surfacing all of the documents that we have here. For example, the different SEO reports, the different cluster ones that we have, so cluster blogs, things like that as well. And I think this is a really good practice to have your agents actually outputting their kind of final results into some form of shared repo system if you're using a multi-agentic kind of harness system, aka Claude Code, OpenClaw, Hermes, so on and so on, because I don't think that these will be the last. I think more systems will pop up, and it's important that we try these systems and work out which one is best for our needs, and that's certainly the way that I've been adopting it. However, you want to have a way of literally just converting all of this work and knowledge, and that's why I think memory systems in like things like Obsidian are really interesting, because you could convert that across, and documents and files inside of a shared repo is also a great place to start.